Explicit conversation on wife's phone. I wasn't snooping, it's just that I powered up an old phone, trying to remember whose it was. I opened Messenger and there it was. Flirtatious messages. Plans to meet. I travel for work a few days each month. They use that time. I'm in Europe. No fault laws, but I still want to know everything. Someone in another sub suggested this for the confrontation. It's a way to get the grimy details, but I don't know what laws I might be breaking surveilling her beforehand. 20 years of marriage in the toilet. At least we don't have kids. Though, I'm gutted. Divorce is so fucking messy here. It takes 3 years, 2 years of separation before filing. I've ordered a voice-activated recorder to place in her car. I'll try to access her current phone to see text messages and maybe get a phone number. Solicitor appointment for Friday arranged. I will be posting here the updates in order. Update 1: Explicit conversation on wife's phone. So much has happened this week. Where to start? I have his name. His real one. I found more messages in WhatsApp, where his real phone number and name is. It's a former colleague of mine who I haven't seen or heard from in at least 5 years and who I barely had any interactions with when we were working for the same company. He lives nearby. I don't know how she even knows him. It's possible they met briefly at a company Christmas party, but my wife attended very few of them. I've gone through the Messenger messages more thoroughly, too, to see what I can find out. It's the most difficult thing I've ever had to read in my life. It's like she's a totally different person with him. Her expectation with me is that I am romantic, that I don't use vulgar terms to refer to body parts, we make love and express our emotional attachment in anything we do physically. This guy just tells her what he's going to do with her in blatant crass terms and she responds positively. In the messages they both use language that she would get upset with me for using. I don't get any sense of there being much emotional attachment between them, but he sure gets her motor running and it makes me sick. Yesterday, during work hours, I witnessed a live conversation on WhatsApp. He tried to do a video call with her during this, but I was able to red button the call each time he tried. The oldest messages are 3 years old, but they don't start with introductions, so that wasn't the beginning of the relationship. I met with a solicitor. He has started TGE paperwork to initiate a separation agreement. Advised me not to move any money around and to stay in the house and not move out for now. He said there are huge legal gray areas with my plans for hidden recording devices. For me that only changes my plan to reveal any evidence to her. I think the whole infidelity baseball approach could still work without revealing the sources of information. I'll just show up with a journal listing the facts of everything I know. Still waiting for that VAR to arrive. I've also ordered a cam that looks like a Bluetooth speaker. Post-edit. Sorry, I forgot to add a kind of important detail. When I knew the AP, he was married. I don't know if he still is. I'm leaning towards getting a Pi for legal surveillance I can share with his wife. I talked to one during the week. It's not mega bucks. Might be well worth it for my next trip, which is in less than 2 weeks' time. Update 2: Explicit conversation on wife's phone. I'm writing this on Saturday morning, April 12th. The real estate agent is hosting viewings in the house in a few hours' time. Preparing for that is how most of my free time has been spent lately. That's where the focus is. The sooner I get to Australia the better. But just when I thought I was on the home straight, I've just had another drama-filled week. I was talking to the app's wife again. She had been doing better and the AP is regularly visiting his son again, so I was happy to hear that. But we've put something together that made me sick all over again. AP had never told her about the vasectomy. When my wife told me about it, I'd assumed this was something agreed between him and his wife, but it's actually something he and my wife must have decided between themselves. In fact, the AP and his wife were trying for more kids. At least, she thought they were. This selfish bullshit is the reason they only have one child. Out of everything that has happened, this is the most selfish fucking thing I've come across. It adds a whole new insane dimension to the whole thing. AP wanted to leave his wife, my wife convinced him to string her along through fear that the affair would come to light in a divorce. So they wasted 7 of this woman's reproductive years. How can anyone do that to a person? I know from my own research when I was looking into getting one that this is a day procedure and many office workers just go back to work after having it done. It's keyhole surgery that doesn't leave noticeable scarring. It costs something like €500, so not even a large spend to conceal. So, yeah, you can conceal it from your partner just by withdrawing from sex for a week or two to recover. I didn't think I could feel any more disgust from my wife, but this betrayal seems to have no bottom. After learning all of this, I had to deal with what I could only describe as an intervention from our mutual friends after they discovered I had ghosted them. 4 of them showed up at my house on Thursday night after work on the guise of wanting to check that I am okay. They left their significant others at home, so 4 men. I told them I was fine and asked why they were all here. One did most of the speaking, let's call him Patrick. Pat told me he was worried that I was isolating myself and it wasn't healthy. Said he noticed I'd blocked him and upon talking to the others, they all realized they'd been ghosted too. I told them the same thing I told my wife. I need my space and time to think. I blocked my wife and her family and friends so I could do that. I'm also burdened with preparing the house for sale, so I've been very busy getting the place spotless and refreshing the paint in the most neglected rooms. Pat said, we're not just your wife's friends, we're also your friend and we want to be here for you. I said you might consider yourselves to be friends, but this affair was despicable and you've taken a neutral stance on it. You're still in contact with her and I want to cut off contact with her, that means cutting out the middleman too. This whole separation has been devastating. She has support from people who will take her side no matter what, her family. I don't have that here. My family lives on the other side of the planet. That's what I need, not a group of people who, for all I know, will relay everything I say to her. Pat said something to the effect of, you can't expect us to cut her off. We've known her for years and while the affair is disturbing, it's between the two of you. I responded by saying the only expectation I have is that they leave me alone. I'm not asking anyone to cut anyone off. But I'm not interested in hanging out with people who can excuse the disgusting behavior my wife has exhibited over the last 7 years. They say you don't get to choose your family, but you can choose your friends. You're choosing to be friends with a despicable excuse for a human being and I want nothing to do with you. If I go looking for support to help me get through this, it will be from people willing to take my side. Pat, for reasons I'll never understand, thought this might be a good moment to advocate for my wife. He asked how much time I think I'll need before speaking to her again. Could I ever bring myself to forgive her and is divorce inevitable? I didn't answer. I instead looked him right in the eyes and asked if he knew about the affair before I did. His facial expression looked so fucking guilty. Like a kid caught with his hand in the cookie jar. His face turned red and there was a look of shock on his face. He couldn't even hide it. I lost my cool at this point. I said, let me tell you about the fucking affair that you were complicit in enabling. We'll start by correcting your arithmetic. It isn't between me and my wife. This is between me, my wife, her affair partner, his wife, his 8-year-old son and now you too. I asked how long he has known and he said only 2 or 3 years. His wife saw him entering our house when I was away and questioned my wife about it and she came clean. Begged her not to say anything. I then filled them all in on the vasectomy and the effect it was having on the app's wife. What she is now going through. That's what your friend does to people. I'm not interested in having friends who are okay with that, let alone those who enable it. They all went quiet. I asked who else knew. Pat just said it was him and his wife. The others all said they didn't know. Pat said he didn't know about the vasectomy and said hearing about that made him feel sick too. This is the company you're keeping. If you're okay with having a friend like that, I'm not okay with having you as a friend. Pat tried to apologize. I told him I can't accept his apology. I threw them all out and told them to learn how to take a fucking hint and don't come back. That just made cutting them all off a whole lot easier. Post-edit. I've messaged the app's wife. She responded by letting me know that the AP admitted to the vasectomy. He said my wife requested it, and he couldn't tell his wife about it because he knew she'd object. She said she can't say for certain whether my wife knew about the deception. We'll post tomorrow the next update.